Welcome to Finally We Got Namespaces in AL. Let's try it out. Hey, I'm Erik, and a little over half a year ago, I created a video. More specifically, I created this video. We really need namespaces. I even added an extra space between name and space. We really need namespaces in AL, and I'm just gonna put on the record that just because I made the video, Microsoft has now added namespaces to Business Central. There's no other reason in the world it could be than because I created a video about it. But now we got namespaces in BC 23 or BC 2023 Wave 2 or AL version 12, whatever version you works for you. So I think it's time we actually talk about namespaces and how we should deal with this, how it works. So, but without a lot of talk, let's get straight into it. And I guess we don't need to watch this video, but here's a new app that I had just said AL Go as usual. And this is if we go and check out app.json, we can see this is one runtime 12. And right now, by the way, if you say AL Go and you do something and then you see that it suddenly offers you 13, ignore that. That's a bug. It'll go away again. Somebody apparently got a slightly bit too trigger happy with what name came in the what version. So ignore that. 12 is, this will actually it will not even create a useful app for you. So 12 is the right one. But what is a namespace? So namespace is a concept that is known from a ton of other languages. And the whole idea is a way to divide content of your app into logical partitions. Up until now, and all the way back through history, we have had one namespace in Business Central, in Dynamics Nav, in Navision, and so on. There's been one namespace. We could only create one thing with the same name within the same type. So if I decide I would like to create a customer table, I cannot call it customer. It's not possible because that name is already taken. If I want to create a code unit called sales-post, nope, not an option because that name is already taken. And then we run into all these weird things. If you want to put an app on app source, you have to put a prefix on and you put your initials or whatever, your company name, and it's just weird and it's ugly. And even though supposedly those names are never surfaced, there are places they are surfaced anyway, which is super annoying. But namespaces is the solution. So let's look on how this actually works. So here's an app, and this was created with AL Go. So this is, and we have said this is 12, but right now AL Go is not creating a namespace app. Perhaps it should, but that's a different story. And right now, Business Central has a fallback mechanism that says that if you're working with an app that has not been declared as a namespace app, and I'll get back to that in a second, then we'll just pretend that everything is still in the global scope. But that is, that's a disaster waiting to happen, because at some point in the global namespace we will now get duplicates just because we can. Duplicates will occur, and then so the whole concept of having non-namespaced apps will probably break very soon. I don't know how it. Maybe there's status somewhere, and if you have read it and I haven't comments below. What are the rules? There are two sets of rules that I'm interested in. One is an existing app uptaking a namespace, and the other is an existing app source app uptaking a namespace. Anyway, maybe that's another video when I figure that one out. But let's look at this simple app. When this one is a great starting point, because this is just a page extension. So what I can do, if I go up at the top here, now we can see that I have the option of specifying namespace. And namespace is not a new object type, even though it kind of looks like it because it's on the list with all the other object types, and namespace is not an object type. A namespace is a declaration. It's a declaration where your app lives. And we can see that right now there are already namespaces. There's one namespace called Microsoft, another namespace called System. So we can see if Microsoft, and then we get all sorts of things. So we could do Microsoft.intercompany.bankaccount.mything. So what I've done here now is that I have told that the namespace for this app, and I'll probably need a semicolon, otherwise it gets mad at me. Right. The namespace of this app is Microsoft.intercompany.bankaccount.mything. Now I'm kind of invading Microsoft namespace. So this is super bad behavior to do something like this. What I would do, let's say that I create a namespace called Hogard. And I plant a flag and say, this is my namespace. And now we're getting sort of back to the thing about right now we have those prefixes registered for objects. There'll probably be a list somewhere, app source namespaces that has been claimed. But hopefully I can claim Hogard as my namespace. So I could say, okay, all right, this lives in the Hogard namespace. We're good. So that might be wrong, that might be right, but hang on a second. The first thing that happens is that now the code is not compiling, right? The AL compiler no longer knows what customer list is, because customer list is not a name inside this namespace. And then we can hit. I use Control dot to open the quick fixes. Then we can see that there's a new thing here. Fully qualify as. So I can do this, and now my code compiles again. So the customer list page lives in the customer namespace, that lives in the sales namespace, that lives in the Microsoft namespace. So this is now the fully qualified name of something. That means that the fully qualified name of this thing, as you can see in the tooltip now, is Hogard.customerList extension. So this is no longer the name. This is just the inside the namespace identifiable name. But the fully qualified name is this. But this is kind of annoying. Do we really have to write everything like this from now on? No. Let me undo this one and see, and then we can look at the other option here. The other option is that we can add using Microsoft Sales.customer. So if we add this one, we'll get another line up here, and we could have written this ourselves, of course. So this one, and if you have ever programmed C#, you can see that all of this is super C#-ish. in C# you would actually have done this the other way around. That doesn't work. And then in C# this would be curly parentheses and then curly outside. So everything that's here is in this namespace. But that's not the AL way. So namespace you put on the first line, and then you can put your what you consume of other namespaces. You could end up in a situation where you're consuming. Let's using Microsoft.purchase. Let's see if we got something else here. Posting, and then we got posting here, right? So and let's just fully qualify this one again for a second, so we're not looking at the error. So now I have specified two postings areas using. So if I were to create a let's say that I want to do a post, and that I need a code unit. And we see here we also get suddenly now the namespaces. But now I know it's called sales post, but let's pretend that we had a code unit in both. In both namespaces that were called the same. So both sales posting and purchase posting had a post code unit. Let's just say that. Then what we would write down here would no longer work, because there will be two options to select from. So you might have the situation where even though you're working with using, you might still want to do Microsoft .sales.posting. So you still might in some cases want to specify the fully qualifying name to avoid suddenly grabbing the wrong one. This very typical for C#. That what I find quite often, if there's a namespace, like if you're working with JSON and you're working with XML and stuff like that, and suddenly there's multiple things called an element, and then you specify element and it takes the wrong one, and so on. So quite often you end up in, let's just fully qualify this name, or in some cases you can, and in C# you can, I don't know if you can do this here. You can actually give it a different name, can here. But so quite often I end up in C# actually perhaps not, if I'm only going to use it in one spot, maybe I'm not turning on using, I'm saying using way too much. Maybe I'm not turning on using, maybe I'm just fully qualifying that those few places where I need it, to avoid polluting the combined namespace that I know about, that I'm using right now. So because we could say using to every single namespace, and then we're back to what we had without writing anything. So you got to think about that to avoid getting into weirdness. Anyway, let's go back here for a second and talk about the namespace. So now I said Hogarth, and that's pretty bad, because now I have kind of claimed a top level namespace, and I've just put a random stupid PTE in it. That's probably not very good. So there are different ways, but you can think about, let's say you as a partner, you grab yourself a namespace, and then you perhaps have something that says customers, and below that you have the customer, and then potentially you can also have the app name that you're creating, right? So whatever this personal customization you're building, this app you're building, you can you put everything here. You could also have multiple namespaces in one app. Maybe there's a use case for that. In most cases, I think that's probably overkill. And I think actually one thing I've been talking with Peter about this, that now we have not had this for decades, and we have actually lived with it without it for decades, and still most of us has managed to feed our kids by writing AL and so on. So it has not been that bad. So I think the danger is to walk into let's completely over engineering now complex name structures, namespace structures, because we can. I think now I should have the Jurassic Park thing on display, that your people were more worried about if you could than if you should. So here's what I'm gonna do. So take this for what it is. Hogarth. And in Hogarth we have two things. We have apps, but I think I will want something called apps, and then within that we can have the simple object designer. We could also have, let's take the toolbox for instance. Hogarth and apps would be the toolbox. Namespace. We can also have meme spaces. How about that? That would be pretty cool. But then the toolbox has the compiler as a separate app, and the compiler is kind of not an app that is marketed as an app. It's more of a library, a tool set. So that might be in Hogarth tools compiler. And then, you know, in this one, we will have using that one, namespace. So who I am as the first one, a group of different things. And right now, I think I only have two groups. I have apps and then I have tools. And then in the third level, I would have my, what it is, the app. I don't right now see any reason to add a fourth level, so I can subdivide apps if I want to. But your mileage may vary. Your stuff might be way more complicated than mine. I try to keep my stuff simple, you know, even put it in the product name. But if we go back to this app for a second and say, okay, namespace, Hogarth, maybe I have something called demos actually for stuff I do here. Demos, namespace. This is where this one lives. So let's think about what we can do here. What about if I do table? Keys, key, primary key, customer GUID. There you go. That's, you know, that's a customer table for you. We can even make it better too. Name that needs to, because we have long names in our customers here. Hang on. Wow. So now I have a table called customer, but it lives in the Hogarth demo namespace. So let's deploy this thing. If we can do that, let's deploy this thing. Let's figure out what happens. first time you deploy an app to an environment, it takes just a couple of seconds more than the second time you deploy the same app. Sometimes before I start a video, I just deploy the empty app just to avoid these few seconds. Anyway, hopefully we will get to a situation where we have 2 customers tables. But that perhaps opens up some new challenges. Let's see if this will even deploy. Come on, Business Central, you can do it. Wow. It will come. I have faith. I have faith. But while that deploys, we can also do. I'll just prepare some code here because now this is already sent off, so we can actually. Oh, there we go. I was just about to write some funky code. So now we have 2 customer tables. There's like no UI for one of them. App published hello world. So this is your one, but here's what I want to do. An error occurred on the content. Did I break it? Did I break it? Okay, let's. What I wanted to do, like I wanted to go in here, and I want to create a new config package, and I want to write customer here. Can't remember. Perhaps there's no search in this one. There's no search. Sorry. I should have thought about that. Let's hit the 3 dots instead. So we have table 18 customer. We have table 5100 customer. So that's kind of interesting. My guess is that Microsoft will very quickly, perhaps after watching this video, say, maybe we need to add some namespace information to some of these where we're looking up stuff. But maybe you should not go and create a table called customer. That's perhaps another thing that respect that, but you can, which is kind of what I wanted to show here. That we created a new table called the same thing as another table, but because it lives in our namespace, it's fine. But let's what I wanted to do here was I wanted to create a table extension. Extends, and now what do we extend? Well, I want to extend Microsoft.sales.customer. Customer. That's the table name of Microsoft's table. And I want to add a field. Not an action. I want to add a field here, and I want to kind of name this field name, which is a text 500, because we got the longest names here. And if I were to do this right, I'll probably put it in the field section, right? Were you yelling at the screen yet? That we are not allowed to do. So even though we can create a new table, but with the objects on namespace, we still am limited by that field names are not really living in a namespace. The field names are living in a global thing on the table. So that's probably a good thing. So in reality, we're not out of the woods with the prefixes on fields yet. That might change. But right now, I think we're stuck with what we have when it comes to this. But we managed to create an object with the same name, but in our namespace. I think that's it to get started on namespace. I think the best advice I can give you is don't go overboard. Don't over-engineer this. You have for years lived in a single global namespace and you have been able to work there happily. So use this logically and make something that will not annoy you in the future just because now we can, but should you. So I've told you my approach, and I think that is pretty reasonable, but I want to know what you want to do. I want to know in comments below. And when you're done putting a comment, here is the next video for you. Go check this one out. It's a good one. I'll see you there. Take care. Bye.